King County's post-construction soil standard requires developers to restore soil that has been disturbed as part of clearing and development in preparation for planting new landscapes. This brief presentation shows how to prepare a soil management plan required for King County development permits and how to use King County's online Compost and Topsoil Calculator to figure out how much compost and topsoil must be brought onto a site to meet the requirements. The post-construction soil standard protects both the property owner, neighbors, and the local environment. The requirements help prevent soil erosion and pollution of lakes and streams, and make sure property owners are left with adequate soil to grow healthy landscapes that can be maintained without using a lot of resources. Developers are offered the choice of several strategies to meet the standard most economically and efficiently. The post-construction soil standard requires that disturbed soils be restored to provide an 8-inch deep layer of loosened soil containing 5 to 10% organic matter. Meeting the standard typically requires mixing in about 1/3 compost to 2/3 soil by volume. It allows property owners to choose from multiple ways to meet the requirement. Existing soil can be amended with compost at a pre-approved rate of 2.5 inches, or the amount of compost use may be adjusted based on tests of organic matter already in the soil, or a full 8 inches of compost amended topsoil mix can be imported. The soil standard requirements apply to all landscaped areas that are not specifically permitted to be covered by buildings, stormwater management facilities, or paving. Areas of native plantings with undisturbed soil and established landscaping on existing buildings may be excluded from the requirement if they are protected from disturbance and compaction during construction. Protection of native plants must include barriers to prevent foot and vehicle traffic, parking, storage of construction materials, and other activities. Filling in a simple soil management plan with your permit application provides the basis for approval of your soil restoration strategy. Submit the plan along with a simple to scale drawing of the landscape that shows layout of landscaping, structures, paved areas, and stormwater facilities. Based on measurements of landscape areas from the drawing, you can use King County's online Compost and Topsoil Calculator to figure out how much compost or amended topsoil will be needed to complete the restoration. For simple sites, calculations of compost and topsoil amounts needed can be made right on the soil management plan form using step-by-step instructions. If you choose a custom amendment rate, then a copy of soil and compost tests needed to calculate the rate must be included. The first step to creating a soil plan is to identify soil resources already on the site that can be preserved undisturbed or reused after construction. Areas of native plantings and soil do not have to be restored if construction can be carried out without disturbing them. Architects or contractors need to confirm if areas will need to be disturbed to establish grades or to allow construction access. Undisturbed areas must be protected from all foot and vehicle traffic throughout construction. Often, graded soil can be stockpiled on part of the site and reapplied with compost after construction is complete. In areas where soils don't need to be removed for grading but will be compacted during construction, the soil can be restored by loosening and mixing in compost. In some places, the subsoil left after grading may also be restored with compost. In areas where the subsoil is too rocky or compacted, topsoil should be imported to replace stripped soil. Once the most practical soil restoration strategy is chosen for each area, that can be marked on the site drawing and labeled. This example includes an area in front where scraped soil needs to be replaced with imported topsoil, an area in back that will be compacted by construction activity but can be restored with additions of compost, and an area of native plantings that can be protected from disturbance so will not need to be restored. Next, measure and add up the square footage of areas to be covered by each option outlined in the plan. Enter onto the form the total square footage that will be covered by each option, amending site soil with compost at the default rate, amending at a custom calculated rate, or importing a full 8-inch deep layer of amended topsoil. Using the online Compost and Topsoil Calculator, simply enter the total square feet area to be covered by each option to determine the amount of compost and topsoil needed. Enter the results on the Soil Management Plan form. The results can also be printed out and attached to the plan. Alternatively, there are fill-in-the-blanks calculations on the Soil Management Plan form that can be used to figure out how much compost or topsoil will be needed at default rates. When using the custom amendment rate, calculations must be done using the online calculator. Using custom calculated rates based on testing of organic matter already in the soils may show that less compost is needed to achieve the 5 to 10% organic content goal. The savings can be significant on large sites. The custom calculated rate requires testing the soil and compost for organic content and bulk density. Testing soil for these measures costs around $50 per sample. A compost supplier should be able to provide a copy of test results for their product. Selecting custom rate on the Compost and Topsoil Calculator will guide you to enter the test data to calculate the amount of compost required. To complete the soil management plan, enter onto the form the area labels from the site plan and the total square footage covered by each option. Multiple sheets can be used if you want to calculate the volumes needed for different areas separately to later guide how much compost or soil to dump in each area when delivered. Enter the total amount of each product, along with the name of the product if you know it, in the space provided near the bottom of the form. The form should be submitted along with the labeled site plan, a printout of results from the Compost and Topsoil Calculator, and soil and compost test results required if you're using the custom amendment rate. If you have a complex site or are trying to use an innovative approach to restoring soil quality, the CompostWise technical assistance team may be able to help you figure out a solution. Email compost@kingcounty.gov to schedule an appointment with the CompostWise technical assistance team. The CompostWise program also offers presentations on compost use for professional groups, model compost and topsoil specifications, and other resources.